I'm Amy Dolan, and this is the Feeding People podcast. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Feeding People. I'm Amy Dolan, your host, and I'm so glad you're with us tonight for another night at the table. I'm so happy to have my guest here with me tonight. I love him. You're going to love him. I don't mean to be bossy, but that's about what's going to happen.
Aww.
So we're here at the table tonight. We just had a delicious dinner. Why do I say that? I made the dinner. That's so annoying. It was delicious, though. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's it. I really got to work on that. It was delicious, but also calm down, Amy. So, welcome to my guest and friend, Dan Stanford. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
I'm so happy
waving
you're here.
like you can see.
I know, you're waving. I love
your
it.
listeners can see me wave.
He's waving to you all, everyone.
Yes.
Feel the love.
Feel the love.
So we just had a good dinner. We had some Mexican rice, and it was very spicy. How's your tongue?
It's healing now.
Okay.
I have the feeling coming back to my tongue. Thank you.
My tongue is I'm surprised by how numb it actually is.
Yeah, it was pretty spicy.
I am like a wimp when it comes to spicy food. Are you? Can you handle?
I can actually handle a lot of spice.
Okay, that's good. I can handle nothing. So we'll see how this goes, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you're here tonight. We know each other because forever ago we used to go to church together, right? And we became friends and all that good stuff. And then right as we were becoming best BFFs, you up and moved to San Antonio.
I did. Yeah, we were getting cozy.
I know. I'm not going to take it personal, but I'm taking it personal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But anyway, I'm so glad that you're in town and you were able to come to the table and record because I just can't wait for everyone to hear from Dan Stanford. So
thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Tell me, how would you introduce yourself?
All right. Well, my name is Dan Stanford. My artist name is Nepal. I am an avid vocalist on the side. I have a bachelor's degree in human services. I love social justice. I love reading about it. I love working in it. I just think there's no better way to, live your life than by helping others. So that's been my thing since I can remember. I also have a 1-year-old doggy daughter.
Yes. Oh, I love doggy
Mila,
daughter.
And I think that's about it.
Oh my gosh. I love that Mila.
Yeah.
I gotta meet her.
Yeah.
She just sounds the best.
She's sweet.
Okay, so I love to ask everyone, you and I, we both love food so much. So what is the best meal that you have ever had?
The best meal I ever had was doing some mission work in South Africa, and it just happened to be my 21st birthday.
Uh-oh.
And I had this huge spread that was laid out for me by the people that I was staying with and doing work with. There was everything.
Wow.
There's fruit, there was bagels. They're not big on bagels, but they found me some because I like bagels.
Wow.
And there was something, they call it a milk tart. It's kind of like a pie. The most similar thing that I can compare it to would be flan.
Okay, yeah.
But the texture's different.
Okay.
And it tastes good cold, it tastes good warm. And that was my favorite thing. I could eat milk tart
oh my gosh,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they put a lot of that on the table.
Yeah.
And it was just so
Aww.
there was so much love on that table.
Yeah.
It was just a bounty of food. And I was just y'all didn't have to do this, but thank you.
They knew it was your birthday.
Yeah.
And they knew,
it was
what
a
would make you
special
feel good.
21st. I didn't even think I was going to be in Africa for my 21st, but I was. And I would say that was the best meal I had. It was just, and because it was prepared by people that I had, developed relationships with and everything, it just made it that much more special. They knew what I liked. They found out what I liked without asking me, and they just prepared it. And it was just such a beautiful experience. It was kind of transcendent.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so lovely. We talk so often about I mean, good food is good food, but also
Yeah.
like you can feel, it's crazy, right? Like you
Yes.
can feel the love
Yes.
and thought and intentionality put in a meal just made for you.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
even in like another country with people you just
Yes.
met, like if
Yeah.
they were able to do that, is
Yeah.
just transcendent. It's such a
Yeah.
great word.
Yeah. It was like a very memorable meal.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I can feel all of like the love and warmth and yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, well this is so much fun already.
Yes, it is.
So let's get to it. I love to ask my guests what food was like for them growing up. And so, Dan, tell us, like, what was food like in your house with your family? Did someone teach you to cook? Did you eat meals together? Like, what was it like?
Okay, so my family actually went out to eat so much. Like we went out to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have that many memories of us like sitting at the dinner table and like my mom cooking things. And my mom would cook, don't get me wrong. But we would never like either eat it together or we'll, like everybody eats at different times. It was a little bit of a disconnect when it came to food and family with us. And I think it impacted me to really try to learn how to be warmer than where I was. Like I feel like there was a lack of warmth because we didn't have
Wow.
family dinners
Wow.
and we didn't sit as a family. So I intentionally, would look at different things that I would say or do and say, how can I be warmer with this? Or how can I relate to someone who has had this experience of like sitting at a dinner table and things like that. So I think I want to say one of the things that my mom probably cooked the best was like soups. Like she made an amazing oxtail soup.
Wow.
So good.
Wow.
Like that was like the best thing. And I
Soup
would
is like
always
surprisingly hard.
It is surprisingly hard.
Yes.
And like one of my favorites, one of the recipes that I do have from her is like a chicken, mushroom, and spinach soup. And I've made that a few times. And whenever I prepare it or whenever I smell it, it does bring like fond memories of me in the kitchen with her while she was making it. And I think, like that, there's something to be said for that too,
Yes.
So
We
even
all
though
want
we
that.
did eat out a lot and stuff and we didn't really eat a lot together as a family, I had my moments while I was in the kitchen with my mother, with her preparing food. We would talk about things that would have nothing to do with the food,
Yes,
and it wasn't
right.
until much later where she would email me the recipes like, oh, this is how you make this.
Yes.
So you would think, like I would be learning how to make the food while she's making it, but she's talking to me about other things.
Yeah.
But I think there was beauty in that, life lessons in the kitchen,
Yes.
like I remember that.
Right, exactly. Food is I always think like food is such an excuse.
Yeah.
It like actually like facilitates so many other things. I love that you said that. Like it was an opportunity for you to be
learn,
in the kitchen
yeah.
together talking about other things
Yeah.
because you had this like excuse. You were
Yeah.
like cooking and working together.
Something to do,
right?
yeah, most
I love
definitely.
that. So as we were eating dinner together, we were finishing dinner, you said you were an open book. And so
Yeah.
we're just going there now.
Yeah, hit me.
Did you realize, you're going to regret that. Did you realize that like what you said about eating out and like the lack of warmth and stuff, was that something you realized as a kid? Like, did you have a sense of that as a kid that maybe like there was something missing for your family or that you just assume, like as a kid, you just think this is what everyone does, right? Or was it like later in life, you're like, I think that I want something different or want to add warmth?
Yeah, I think I did have a sense of it. I just didn't know what it was, and I literally said to, I think it was my dad one time, I said, why don't we never eat together as a family? What's up with that?
You
And-
even knew that as a kid, that like
Yeah.
other families ate together.
Exactly.
Wow.
And, it's stuff you see on TV, everything, and my dad's like, that's just TV. He was like, that's just like, this is like, that's not real life, son. Like, I kind of was baffled about that. And I definitely had that sense, but it wasn't like forefront of my mind in a sense.
Yeah.
I had to learn like from just other people and other things like, okay, this is my norm, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's what's healthy for others when
Sure.
it comes to my interaction with others or what's, like it doesn't, just because this is my norm doesn't mean I need to keep it a norm. I
Yeah.
need to learn from this. And I think that's one thing, even when it comes to generational curses or hurting people. Like that was the thing that had me to realize, like, okay, I know that this is wrong. I know that what I feel is wrong. I know that how we're doing this isn't right. It may not, and maybe I shouldn't say right or wrong, but it isn't healthy, sure. Right?
Yeah.
So I need to do the opposite of this. And I think that helped me,
yeah,
to be able to relate to other people. It's like, okay, well, we did it like this in my house, but I ain't gonna, we're gonna do it your way, so yeah.
Yes. So how have you taken, I love what you're saying.
Yeah.
I love it. A lot of us want to make changes and live a different, healthier life than our families, right? But like you said, like don't have the skills or don't know how or aren't conscious or all of that. So that you're conscious and aware and want to like live differently is incredible. It's so beautiful. So what are some ways that you have like made changes, or what's like a different way that you're not perpetuating that from your family when it comes to food and eating together?
Well, one way is that whenever I am like with friends or something and we're about to eat a dinner or we're going out to dinner, I kind of help them be cognizant, like, hey, let's take our time, because I'm used to being like, where I'm coming from my household, get your food and go, or like, take your food to the couch, take your food, or, I'm going to go upstairs and work on my work. And so now in my brain, when we sit down to eat, hey, let's be in the moment. Like, Wow. It's just it's like, again, how do I go the opposite route? Right. I don't want to say that like my parents rushed me to eat, but there was a sense of rush with like, okay, I made dinner. Y'all grab it when y'all can. I'm going to do this. Your dad's going to go back out, and I don't want to replicate that environment anymore in my life, with my friends or with my, my family that I create.
Yes.
It's going to be this is what's in front of us. We're going to sit, we're going to eat, we're going to enjoy. Whatever you have outside of this, it can wait,
Oh my gosh, Dan, that's amazing. That's really amazing. Like the intentionality and the mindfulness
That's
of
the
that
key.
is amazing. And it's just so beautiful that you're not only doing that for yourself, but for your friends and family when you're with them.
Yeah.
That's very kind. Y'all have a good friend in Dan. Okay, so thank you for saying all that. I really appreciate what you shared. So tell me some more about connecting food specifically with power and injustice and inequality. Like this is something I just love to think about all day long. And so I'm so happy that you do too.
It was so great because when I looked at the question, I was like, oh, wow, that's loaded.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a loaded question. And I took a while to think about it. What would my answer be to that? And I think the way that I equate food to social justice is that food and the way that I want to prepare it, the way that I want to present it and eat it with other people, food to me is an equalizer. It's an equalizer. When I bring food to the table, we're having the same thing. Whether you're tall, short, skinny, fat, black, white, we have the same thing on our plates. Like food is an equalizer. It brings us all together. And I think there's so many different imbalances in the world and in society, right? But there's something about food is like, even sitting at the same table, you're all looking each other eye to eye. It's just, we all have different backgrounds. We all have different experiences, different cultures, but our bodies work the same way.
Oh, wow.
Our temples
I never thought about that.
Are the exact same. You have an esophagus, I have an esophagus.
Yes.
And what I am putting in front of me, I'm putting in front of you, right? So we are nourishing our temples at the same time with the same thing. And that's what makes food an equalizer. And that's what brings us all together, regardless of what kind of social economic status we have or what we're going through in life. When we sit down at the table, we are like one.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't want to be like corny, but it gives me that whole like Avatar feel, how they're all connected.
Yeah.
Like that's the way food feels,
Okay. Okay. So there's so much, of course, that you just said that I love so much. But one thing that I've never thought of before is the thing that we have in common, our bodies, right? Because so often we're focused on our differences in our bodies, right? Our skin, our hair, all of that, our gender, our sexuality. And so we focus on that. And I think, of course, like it's really important to think about like how you're creating an equal and fair world for everyone with all their differences. But to think about like a common starting place as like what we have in common with our physical bodies when it comes to eating is something literally I've never thought of, Dan. And I think I love food as an equalizer, like you said, because I do feel like there's something about it. There's something magical, I think, in the way that God created food. So that we could not only be nourished, but enjoy the beauty and the creativity and all of that. And I've never thought about how maybe God also created magic in food because our bodies are the same.
Yes, they're the same. The way we process it, the way it breaks down, just the nutrients and stuff within the food, it's the same type of process of digestion.
I mean, like kale is good for everyone.
Yeah, seriously.
Right?
Yeah. And it's just like, you know, this is the thing too, what makes me think of it as an equalizer is like when I prepare food, what I put in front of me, I put in front of you. And even if I might say, hey, you know, if you guys want to try like red crushed pepper on this, it brings out the flavor a little bit more. You have that opportunity. You can say yes or no, but there's nothing that I'm going to have that you're not going to have at this point. And that is how we are equal and see eye to eye. There's nothing. If I'm eating steak, girl, you can have steak too. You know, like I think like that's the biggest thing for me is like, I'm not going to get myself like all this stuff for dinner and I put like just like bread in front of you two. Like that's not how my dinners work. You know, like we're all gonna eat the same thing. We're all equal, you know, and you have the opportunity. If you want to add this spice or you want to put this, boom, I have it. We can do this. We can do this together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love this so much. I love this. What advice would you have for me and for other people who only want to do more of that? Like who only want to connect and feed people and use it as an equalizer, an opportunity for equalizing? Like tell us, how can we do that even better?
Well, I would say, you know, and this is just like, this is like such a basic principle that I think a lot of people, organizations, they just forget. Like do right by people, because you know you're gonna do right by yourself. Yeah. So replicate that. Do it with other people. I think that's like one of the biggest things is that if you discover like a new dessert or a new way to prepare something and you withhold that, you're not using food as an equalizer. You're saying, I'm going to carve out this little piece of heaven for myself.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just like, we can all win. There's enough sky for everyone to reach and to touch. And I think that's one of the biggest things is that like, we're all so consumed with, you know, making sure that our house is in order and what we want to do is together. And it's just like, share that wealth because you're not going to lose anything by blessing someone else. And if anything, you'll gain, you know? And I think that's like one of the biggest things. It's like, do the right that you are going to do by yourself, do it by others, do right by other people. And I have been learning that more. I've been doing that more and I've been preaching that more. It's like, if you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you're going to understand all these things, you know, like I would want this if I was in their shoes. If I'm in a position to provide that, let me do it. If I'm in a position to make that happen, let me do it. I think that's like, that would be my biggest piece of advice.
I love this. This is so weird because even though I'm a pastor, I don't usually think in biblical stories that we were just saying.
She's not the traditional.
Not a traditional. No, everyone knows that by now. But all I can think of are like Bible stories of Jesus as you're talking. It's crazy. I swear this never happens to me.
Well, I mean, it was bound to happen sometime, right?
I mean, thank you, Jesus, finally. But like, all I can think about, well, obviously, like, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yes,
like,
yes.
means like not only give yourself the best, which is so hard for us, but like give your neighbor the best.
Yes, and don't be afraid to.
Don't be afraid to. Like, don't hide the good wine. Don't hide the steak. Don't hide the cheesecake, right?
Yeah.
But like, also, all I can just picture as you're talking is like all the times Jesus mentions banquets and like preparing a feast.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that is about a banquet is not like, you know, let's just go get like a snack somewhere. A banquet, a feast is like the best of the best.
The best of the best, yeah.
And that's what you're saying. And that's like the visual I have in my brain is like, give people a feast.
Yeah.
However that is, however you would define that, right?
Exactly.
What you can afford, what your apartment looks like, whatever, right? Like, but determine what is your feast and give everyone your feast. Oh my gosh, I love this so much.
Yes. And I feel like I feel like it would be so like against my nature to find like a restaurant that is like amazing and have like the best menu and not tell anybody about it. Like, you know how people are just like, I can't tell y'all.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's not me. Like, I have to tell everybody like, this is good. You need to go. In fact, you can go with me and it's on me.
Yes.
That's, you know, like, that's how eager we should be with everything in our lives when it comes to resources or whatever. Like, hey, I just found this and it has changed my life tremendously and I'm going to refer you or I'm going to send them your way, you know, like pass it on, you know?
So good.
Yeah.
This is really going to be something that I think about for a long time. Thank you, Dan. So good.
Awesome.
So I want to talk for just a minute about your move. I actually don't want to talk, but we're going to talk about your move.
She's like, I don't want to talk about it, but I'll talk about it.
So 2 year and a half ago, you moved
ago.
from Chicago. You grew up in Chicago, right? Lived here your whole life. And then 1.5 years ago, you just were like, see y'all later.
Yeah.
And you moved to San Antonio. So and it's been good. It sounds like it's been great for you.
It has.
A really good experience. So we miss you all here, but like, I'm so happy it's been good for you. What role has food played in your move and your transition? Like, how have you brought recipes with you? How have you gathered with people as you've been like trying to like establish a new life for yourself in a new state?
Yeah, it was crazy. And it's actually kind of a rough patch, like the first few months after I left Chicago, because I don't care what anybody says. Chicago has the best food. Like,
who
ever.
doesn't say that?
Like, you would be surprised, but I defend
names.
Chicago all the time.
I want names.
We're putting hits out on y'all right now. No, but it was so much of a struggle for me because I was like, okay, this city does not even know what this restaurant is, or they don't have this, or they don't have this, or they don't, like, I'm literally going down a list of things of like, this is my regular this is my regular that, and all that is gone now, right? So this was actually a good thing for me because I spent so much money on food living in Chicago. And moving to San Antonio helped me to start cooking.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we gonna bust out this crock pot. We gonna make some stuff work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And I got in contact with my mom, like, okay, I need you to resend this recipe, this and this. And I started making food more so than eating out because that seemed to be the only option, you know, like there are places to go to eat, but they're not impressive like Chicago's places to go to eat, right?
Yes.
So most of the time I cook something for the whole week for myself, right? And I think that it's been positive in the way of like, because I'm preparing it, I know what's in it, I know what I'm putting in my temple. This is good for me. And like, just a lot of things changed. My energy level, my motivation to go to the gym, just certain things. A lot of things have changed because most of what I put in my body was prepared by me.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about that. You're taking more of a responsibility of your temple when you are preparing what you're putting in it.
Yes. And
you know what's going in it. And you know, like, it's such a difference. And I feel like that was the best thing about the move. even though I was mourning Giordano's and I was mourning cheesesteak fries,
yes.
I'm just like, but I'm here now and I have to make the best of this situation. So I'm going to cook. And another thing about it was I am still Daniel, right? I'm still Dan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to find the best places to eat.
Of course.
Right?
Right. I couldn't keep them away from you.
You can't keep me away from a restaurant because one thing I believe in is paying good money for good food.
We're exactly on the same page about this.
And I tell people all the time, if you can make it in your own kitchen, don't pay for it.
We are exactly on the same page. Listen, I got a new working theory that there is so much mediocre food when you eat out.
Yes.
And you should not pay mediocre money.
No, you shouldn't.
For mediocre food. Like when you go out, pay money for good food.
And that's what my friends say about
Am I
me.
yelling?
No. You're just passionate right now. And I love that. Like, I'm here with you.
Thank you.
And that's what like my friends say about me is like, Daniel knows all the good spots. Like he's not gonna send you off. Like if you're gonna spend money, and that's my motto. If I'm gonna spend money, it's gonna be on something
that's right,
super delicious that I can't make myself.
That's right.
You know, and I have been taking my friend Destiny out. You know, like we would go out to eat all the time together, and I would show her places that I found that's like, ooh, girl, this is too good, right? And so we took her grandma out for her birthday, right? We took her to one of my favorite restaurants, J. Alexander. And she loved it. She'd never been there before. Yeah. She loved it, right? And it was a few weeks later. We were out to eat. We went to one of my favorite food trucks, which is called Crab Kings.
Some of the best food is on food trucks.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's on the phone with her grandma. She's like, I'm on my way. We're just finishing up eating. And she's like, where y'all at? She's like, oh, we're at Crab Kings. And she was like, oh, y'all eating good. Y'all be eating good. And I'm just like, well, if we're going to spend the money, then we need to have the best. I believe in, cream of the crop type stuff. So
same.
So yeah.
Same. I'm actually like getting increasingly angry at restaurants that are getting away with mediocre food. Yeah. I just feel like
it's a sin.
Come on.
It should be
people are
banned.
Getting out of their houses and paying money. Like, do something.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you've moved, you've learned how to cook. You've learned cooking more. You've done more cooking for yourself. Yeah. How has that like even just like centered you in like a season of transition and trying to like get your feet on the ground in a new place?
It has definitely shown me that I can do all things through Christ. Yeah. Simply because there's been recipes where I'm just like, I want to eat this, but I don't know how to make it. And it's just like, well, Daniel, look it up. Buy the stuff, do it. Just do it, you know? And I can honestly say that each time I try something new, it came out really good. Or I learned like, okay, if I do this, I can perfect it, and it would come out better the next time. So it kind of helped me with the idea of there's a solution to every problem. Like in this transition, you can maneuver through it, the same way you maneuver through learning how to make new dishes.
Wow.
You can
like confidence, almost, like problem solving.
It definitely builds confidence. And it definitely was like, okay, if I put my mind to this, I can make it happen. Right. So whenever I would come to a hurdle within a transition, okay, how do we think ourselves past this hurdle? There's definitely a way to get past this tree, Yeah. So
that's so beautiful. Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess it's all right that you moved then, because that's really lovely. Oh. And I love that like all of these good things are happening for you in your life. Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's finish with a lightning round. What is your absolute favorite food of all time?
My absolute favorite food of all time is, I would say, pasta.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I am a huge pasta. Like, I don't know which movie this is off of, but it's on a movie, and this couple is on a date, and she's like, what's your favorite food? And he's like, tortellini. And she's like, how would you like to die? And he's like, eating too much tortellini. I identify with that guy. I don't know what movie that is,
like, me too.
I totally identify with him on that. I was like, yes, I would love to die eating too much tortellini. I make a really good Alfredo sauce, and that's like my favorite thing. I'm like, should I do pasta, chicken, Alfredo? Like, I can eat that
all day,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh,
like
yes.
I love pasta. I love Italian. It's my thing.
It's your thing.
Yeah.
Yum. Okay, what's your favorite cocktail?
Um, I am a little basic. I usually order Jack and Coke when I go
Yeah.
out.
We had your jam jar wine
Yes,
tonight. Which
that's my
one's your
favorite
favorite?
wine.
It's
That's my favorite
delicious.
Shiraz. Yeah,
It's
it's really,
delicious. You're
really good.
all red wine,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
Yep.
I'm more of a red person. I feel like white wines have like this aftertaste.
Yeah.
Seems like all of them, and I've tried different ones from different countries, and they all have like this
You did
aftertaste.
your
It's
research.
just weird. Yeah. And my friend, like that's when she's still trying to get us to do an episode of our podcast, Soiree du Vin, with a white wine, and I'm like, girl, we are red
Right.
drinkers.
What show do you think this is?
Like, how are we gonna drink white wine on a red wine podcast? The slogan says "Red wine, real talk." We can't be drinking no white wine. So maybe one day I'll
That'll be a
cave.
spin-off or something.
I'll cave one day and we'll do it. I'll
Do
be
like a special episode.
a special episode where I'm just like, it's all right.
That's
when
it,
she
right.
asks me, how's the wine? What you think about the wine? You know how I feel about it. It's all right.
I loved your one episode where you actually didn't like the wine you were drinking. I don't know if it was your second one. And you're like, I'm just going to be honest. This is not good.
Well, that's the thing. Like that's one of the things in the podcast is like we're just like, okay, some wines we've drank before, some wines we haven't, and so the ones that we haven't, it's like this is gonna be a surprise, and I'm just like, well, girl, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest, and some wines I'm just like, I don't like it, but I'm just gonna drink it because it's here. I don't know.
Here we go.
There was only one wine where I was just like, we can't do this show. I was like,
down.
you know what? Let's exit the recording. Nope. Start over from scratch. So yeah.
Okay, where must people eat when they come to Chicago? What's the best restaurant?
The best restaurant. Well, I can't say I discovered. My aunt discovered this restaurant, which I think is probably the best restaurant in Chicago at this point. It's called Green Street, and it's in the West Loop.
The meats?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
I had like brisket and pork belly and like a broccoli casserole, and I was just like, "What? This is here." And
did you eat outside? Was it like summertime? Did you eat outside or was it inside?
It was summertime, but we still ate inside.
Okay.
But
it's insane.
It's so good. And my mom, like she took my mom there too. My mom's been raving about that restaurant ever since. She's like, I need to go back to Green Street. We need to go back to Green Street. And I'm just like, I'm going to Green Street before I go back to San Antonio.
Yes.
That's definitely that's a given. So
yes,
that's like
you should go. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's like. Yeah. I mean, we were there a couple times in the summer maybe, and you sit outside. It's like all the right things, right? The best food and
so good.
All the good sides.
Yeah.
I love it. You can go there for coffee like in the morning before they open and sit inside, which is kind of a weird experience to be like smelling the meats at
That
like
is weird.
9 a.m.
That is
the
weird.
coffee, but that's all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No problem. That's a
Good
great
time.
recommendation.
Yes.
Green Street.
I love it. I recommend it for anyone.
That's a great one. Okay, we're going to finish up in just a second. This has been so much fun, Dan.
Yes, it has.
Oh my gosh. I kind of feel like I want to give the show over to you because of all the good things you said. So guys, there'll be a new host next week.
Oh my gosh.
Before we finish with a parting piece of guidance, like tell people where they can find you because Dan was part of Sunday Supper Church before he moved and sang us communion once, which was just like an experience I'll never forget.
Oh.
So seriously, Dan, it was so...
You're not going to make me cry right now.
You sang the words of the Last Supper, and then like I think we sang with you, and it was just like your voice and the words and the bread, like it really was something I'll never forget. So where can people find your music? Where can they find you?
Oh, wow. You're going to make me cry. And I'm not trying to cry on this, on this podcast. Okay. So my artist name is Napel. It's pronounced Napel. It has a interesting spelling. It is the word elephant backwards. So it's TNAHPELE. And I only know how to spell it that fast because I've just been practicing. But yes, you can find me on Instagram as Napel Sings. There's my EP that I did in 2017 is called Potential Beauty, and that's on all digital platforms. So iTunes, Pandora, Deezer, YouTube, you can find Potential Beauty. Just type that in. Google Play has it, like it's everywhere. So you can find that. And I am working on new music that'll be out. So yeah, you can just follow me on Instagram and just,
It's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll put all this in the show notes so that people can find you. And seriously, like, follow Dan, listen to his music, hire him for all the things you're doing because you want his voice, you want his music in your life.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's such a good compliment.
Yes.
I feel so good. Thank
Well,
you.
it's true. Okay, so let's end with a parting piece of guidance. Like, what would you say to people who maybe have moved or are trying to connect food as an equalizer? What parting wisdom would you give us all?
I would say that it's important to follow your vision, follow what God has given you. It's so important to do that, because without doing it, there's regrets and there's so many things you can miss out on without, just by not following it. I feel that life itself is a risk. So sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. You have to take the jump, and you have to know that whatever happens, you can handle it. And I learned, that's the biggest thing I learned, is that whatever decision I made, whether I felt it was good, bad, smart, or dumb, my steps were ordered, and there was, not any type of devastating hurt that came to me by just following a vision or following a plan that God gave me. And I feel like if I had followed certain things sooner, I would be better off. And I think we worry about the smallest things. And one thing that I've been telling people a lot this year is that I would listen to them talk and I would say, I hear your worries. I understand. They're valid. But guess what? 9 times out of 10, the things we worry about are not things that happen to us at all. Things that happen to us are things we don't see coming. Things that happen to us are things that are like, whoa, that was a curveball. And the worry that you're worrying about is still under control, or it hasn't happened yet, And I think that would be like my advice, is just like follow the vision, follow the plan, and don't focus so much on your worries. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen. Something else is going to happen. But what you worry about, for the most part, and because I think about that, a lot of things that I worried about, losing my apartment, or never happened. Never happened. It was other things. It was like, oh, well, that happened.
Yeah.
Like I didn't lose my apartment, but I definitely got rear-ended. Totally. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things, just follow the plan that God gave you. Don't worry so much. You're going to be okay. That's what I've been saying. That's what I'm going to say today, is you're going to be okay.
Thank you, Dan. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.